Welcome all sports fans, YouTubers, Facebookers, all social media across the nation. Uneducated represents Uneducated Sports Talk. I am your host, Carlos Clayton, with my co-host, Brian Wilkerson. Welcome back, baby world. Once again, this is our college casual football talk. Is this week 9?
This is week 9.
Week 9. Oh, my God. And this is, if you thought like the rest of the week's crazy, this one has got to top everything so far. We're getting to the nitty-gritty stage of now we know what teams have to do and what they cannot afford to do. Mm-hmm. And we got a lot of that cannot afford to do this week. So look, let's go right into it. We got a slate of games going on. Let's talk about our big one. Which one was the OU versus Oklahoma State? Let's go out with that first. Big 12. Basically, the winner's in, the loser's out. The loser has no chance, and the winner has a great chance. And this one become a basketball game, pretty much score-wise.
This the definition of a shootout.
Right.
Just no defense whatsoever. I think your boy Baker Mayfield throws like 35 completed passes for 598 total yards.
Can we just round to 600? Let's round it and say 600.
Right. And like 5 touchdowns.
That right there, my only question for you is, with Saquon Barkley and Penn State sort of struggling, does that kind of leapfrog Baker Mayfield into the Heisman front runner now? Because everyone's been saying it for the last 2 weeks now.
I think it will in the eyes of the Heisman voters, but not for me personally.
Right.
Barkley just does too much.
Gotcha.
Mayfield doesn't have the quite the ability with his legs like a Lamar Jackson would have had. If he had this kind of a throwing line and then some Lamar Jackson type legs on him to make those kind of plays, then there's no doubt.
Right.
But Barkley can run, he can catch, he can bust plays that look like they're dead. He can go backwards and then spring forward for 35 yards.
Right.
All the other stuff he can do. He can take kicks to the house. No, like it's no problem.
I'm with you. Barkley is still my favorite to win the Heisman right now. It's the Big 12. You don't see that kind of game. Now, we didn't expect almost 600 yards passing, but the way this game was going, both teams couldn't stop a nosebleed, it felt like. So, but OU scored more points.
Over 1,100 total yards just passing.
Crazy,
just
man.
Passing.
Crazy. And that fourth quarter, let alone, was just craziness the last 2 or 3 minutes. But OU does survive, which basically knocks Oklahoma State out of the top 10, pretty much out of the playoff rankings now for real. OU is still up there. Just keep winning, right?
Yeah.
So
let's
go ahead.
So let's get your opinion on number 2 right now in the rankings. Alabama comes out at a home in a showing versus an LSU team with 2 losses. As much upside and potential as I think they do have, they still have 2 losses. So this is a game that you would, even though it's a rivalry game and we know LSU and Bama always come to play, you expected Alabama to do that pull away type of thing, and that didn't happen.
It didn't. No, it didn't.
So does Alabama look human for the first time in?
I'll say this: they've been human all this year, to be honest. One thing about them, 2 things we know: got great defense. We know that was automatic. Another thing that we do know, and if you don't know, and now you know, is their offense is still a little shaky. They're still kind of, I'm not going to say one-dimensional, because one-dimensional. Jalen Hurts, him basically avoiding traffic, really got them to continue drives to score points. Because if you take 2 or 3 of those scrambles away from Jalen Hurts and he gets sacked or throws the ball away, the game kind of changes. Now, of course, it's 2 SEC teams playing each other, and they're both rivals. We know that. LSU came out to play. Defensively, while that front 4 was amazing.
Fantastic.
It kept them in the game. Outside of that, LSU's offense, I'll let you get more on that. I thought it was still way too vanilla for my liking. You want to face Alabama. They did take their shots. I like that. To Chark, they took plenty of shots. They just never connected. If they connect, maybe things change. But Bama was a superior team, too. Superior is a tough word to say. Just the better team.
They were the better team. No, that is the key word, is execution.
Right.
This game just kind of made me feel like that Ed Orgeron and company just weren't practicing this for the first 10 weeks of the season.
You're right.
They didn't
want
it on film, but, they came out with the right game plan.
Right.
The thing with Alabama is the teams that get in on their defense the most spread the field laterally.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're not going to do that with a shotgun 3 and 4 wide receiver set, the second best way to do that is with the jet sweep. And I know everybody is going to start throwing stones at me for, oh my God, jet sweep over and over and over again. But this is different from the toss dive. I'm not just running right at you.
Yeah,
You're using a jet sweep play as a play that sets up spreading the field out. So now you can do those play actions and take those long shots down the field. You can get more runs cut up the middle like that. That's what people who beat Alabama do.
Yes.
So this is a good blueprint for them moving forward. I just want to see them start connecting on those deep balls because there was a couple of touchdowns left on the board there.
Yes.
And then keep this blueprint in place for the rest of the season.
The jet sweeps was like, okay, we saw it once, saw it twice, saw 5, 6. I was like, okay, all right, now they're just figuring you guys out. There's no threat with the quarterback to fake this sweep and take it himself. So why keep doing this? Isn't it Deshaun Watson with the football doing those jet sweeps who can run?
Yeah,
that was my problem. The 5, 6 times, okay, just stop it. And I was like, all right, it's not working anymore. But those shots to Chark, man, I'm telling you, if it's for a fifth, we'll all be drunk. We know that. If they connect, oh my God, the game changes big time because Chark is already a big time wide receiver. His speed alone is very threatening. Eden just couldn't get him on the money like you would hope he could against that team because Bama, I mean, you only got, against this Bama defense, you got about a good 4 or 5 shots to make big things happen if you're an average offensive team.
Right.
You only got 4 or 5 good shots to make something happen, and they just didn't connect. But it shows, like you said, Bama is pretty human, and they've been human all year, man, to be honest. They haven't been that threatening team besides that Vanderbilt game when they won 59-0. Outside of that, they haven't been this real threatening team like we assumed they would be. Now, I still got my best team, spoiler alert. But LSU came to play, which is good to see. If they never lost to Troy, if they just didn't lose to Troy, you would give more respect to them when it comes to the polls. But Detroit lost her some
Final tidbit. Alabama's offensive line looks like they've taken a step backwards.
Yes,
from what they have, and that's going to be their biggest problem going forward. I think because when you get the pressure in on Jalen Hurts and you have a linebacker free to run around and spy on him, he can't run on you.
Right.
LSU proved that this week. So if other teams can take that blueprint and mold from it, I think Alabama looks very beatable.
Big time.
We'll get on to the more heavy implications from this past week here. Let's start with Penn State or Ohio State first.
God, it doesn't. I want to talk Ohio State. I'm sorry. Let's talk. Let's just do it. The beat down we saw from Iowa over Ohio State. Now, I could have said it was an upset. I smelled the upset brewing, but I thought it'd be one of those yucky 16-13 kind of games in Iowa because Iowa plays up to the competition when they're at home. We saw that they lost a close game to Penn State earlier this year. I figured Ohio State would still win, but it'd be ugly. But never count out Iowa in this particular concept. It was an early game, so it wasn't really. We didn't put a lot of thought into it.
No, this was a classic trap game.
Right,
is what it was.
Basically,
coming off that big high win at home against Penn State, and you figure Urban Meyer's a coach that's been in the game a long time. You figure he's going to be able to keep his guys level-headed enough to get through this, and then going into Iowa just looked like the better team from the snap. It was not even from the kickoff, from the first whistle. They looked like the better team.
Iowa put up 55 points. This isn't a Clemson team. This isn't a high-ranked team in the playoff atmosphere.
No.
This is Iowa. I haven't seen Iowa put up 55 since I've been born. It feels like it. These guys, you just stick to their 24 points per game plan and play good defense. They were scoring every red zone opportunity they got. They capitalized with touchdowns every single time it felt like it. I was shocked. This is probably the biggest upset of the year for me. I'm going with upsets like besides Detroit and LSU. This was probably the biggest upset period. I didn't see Iowa beating them like this.
Yeah.
And it hurts Ohio State tremendously. You had the loss at home to OU, which is okay. That was fine. I mean, it's still OU. OU's a top 5 team right now. But to lose in this fashion, not only are you done out maybe for the Big Ten, it depends on the Big Ten is a mess right now when it comes to who's going to win it. But it definitely hurts them for the playoffs. And this,
they're out of the playoffs.
They're out. They're done. There's no way of coming back. You need everyone to lose, and you just win. That's what you need, and that's probably not going to happen.
All Penn State has to do is win one more game than Ohio State, and they go to the championship.
Right.
And that's all it takes.
And did they take advantage of that?
No. They did not.
Penn State loses. They go to what do they call Michigan State's field? Do you know?
I don't know.
Is there a nickname
it's
for
East
it?
Lansing.
East,
I know.
East Lansing,
I
but-
use the city.
Okay, all right. I thought it was a funny name for them. Spartan County. Let's call it that. They go to Spartan County and lose by a game-winning field goal, 27-24. Yeah. Penn State had a chance after losing to Ohio State, and now they're gonna kill themselves because like Ohio State lost as well.
Yeah.
We could have jumped them right back, record-wise. We're not tied anymore, but record-wise now. You know, because
Right.
you just gotta have a better record. Now, if you lost to
Yeah.
Ohio State, you gotta have a better record. And Penn State just fell flat, man. Like, what happened to them?
Michigan State, Sparty. They have this knack for bringing a good defense.
Right.
Not not an SEC, LSU, Alabama type chokehold defense, but they play this style of defense that just limits people in the Big Ten. That's just they manage to do it, especially when you're in East Lansing and it's cold,
Right.
and it's musty, and you can't really get going, and they just lock down on you like a vice grip.
This is crazy. This is coming from after a triple overtime loss to Northwestern. And you're like, okay, well, this Michigan State team, they lost Northwestern. They're playing against Penn State. Kind of like another trap game.
Yeah.
But Penn State had this, epic comeback against them against Ohio State. And you figure, they're going to come back and beat the brakes out of Michigan State. And it doesn't happen.
just didn't happen.
And the Big Ten is a freaking mess right now outside of, lo and behold, Wisconsin. I don't know who they played, but Wisconsin is up in there. And basically, if they just keep winning out, maybe we will find out. But Wisconsin's break is they have to win the championship in order to get some kind of recognition to be in that top
this
four.
goes to show you this goes to show you just how much those guys behind the curtains are valuing SOS this year.
Exactly. Yeah, strength schedule. You're right. Wisconsin plays nobody so far. They haven't played anybody, to be honest. No good teams at all. So it's going to hurt them, like you said, for strength schedule. Now, I'm happy for them not putting them up there because you saw the Miamis and the TCUs get breaks going up. But speaking of Miami, our team, Brian versus Team Carlos, that did not go my way. We had Virginia Tech against Miami. Went with Miami. I went Virginia Tech. I just figured Tech was going to win the game. I just didn't trust Miami. Well, guess what?
The turnover chain, baby.
I'm a believer. I am a believer in Miami now. I believe it was a convincing win. Not one of those fluke wins or game winning field goals. Yeah. They won pretty convincingly and they looked good doing it. So
you want one of them turnover chains now, Carlos?
Right.
Get some bling.
I'm telling you, hey, but the jerseys look nice. I love the jerseys. That black on black with the the green. It was. I liked it. I thought it was Von when I first watched the game. Like, Von Tech's winning. Oh no, that's Miami in the black on black. So, anyways, I'm a believer in Miami a little bit. Just so they got me. The big test is next week. We'll talk about that in a minute with Notre Dame. But Notre Dame also gets a sort of a scare a little bit against Wake Forest. They win 49-37 at home. But both of their running backs, Adams and the other guy, I forgot. Adams had a concussion, and the other guy had an injury for a second, but they seem to both be ready for next game. So this is a little tidbit for you guys when Miami does play Notre Dame. We'll talk about that in another moment. But that being said, before we get into our top 10 into these games, besides Ohio State, does it hurt? Let's say, what I want to ask: can Penn State or Ohio State have any chance to get into the playoffs now? Out of those two teams, who has the better chance? Let's say that.
Who has the better chance?
Yes.
Ohio State has a better chance because they hold the head-to-head.
Okay.
They have to see Penn State's best chance is if they win more games than Ohio State. That's their ticket in, and they got to win. They got to win out and win the championship, and then they still got to have some people lose as well. Ohio State still needs some people to lose as well, but they hold the head-to-head against Penn State. So if they go into this thing tied, they get the nod for the championship game because of the head-to-head tiebreaker there, and so they win the championship game. And so that to me gives them a little bit of the edge when you're talking about who may get into the playoff, but both teams still need a lot of help.
A lot of help. Hopefully one of those teams can probably beat undefeated Wisconsin team for the Big Ten championship, and then you never know. But let's put out a scenario: Wisconsin goes undefeated, and say they win the Big Ten championship, they're undefeated. But let's just put out there Georgia, Bama. I mean, we have Georgia or Alabama will have one loss by the time they play each other. Notre Dame, if they go undefeated for now and stay with one loss, and Clemson one loss, I, in my opinion, still think those one-loss teams are better than the undefeated Wisconsin. And Wisconsin's at 5. That's just my opinion. How do you feel about that?
I think that's what the committee is going to do.
Right.
I prefer to put a little bit more weight on the conference championship. That's just me personally, but I feel like, especially with what they did to Penn State last year, the committee is just going to look at it and say, well, you won your conference, congratulations, but you didn't play anybody, so consolation Rose Bowl for you.
Right. Hey, not a bad. You want to be in the playoffs, but not a bad compilation here. So I had the same feeling because, like I said, strength schedule. And if you do beat a Penn State or Michigan. Or it could be Michigan State, Penn State or Michigan State, or Ohio State. I mean, we've seen those guys get beaten by a lesser competition. So now you're like, okay, you're undefeated doesn't really mean anything to us. So Rose Bowl it is, like you said. That being said, ladies and gentlemen, we will unveil the committee's top 10. And then we'll cap it off with our top 4. So you start with the top 10.
All right. Well, everybody won, so we got no changes in 1 through 4. University of Georgia, Alabama, Notre Dame, and Clemson in at number 4. Oklahoma sticks in at number 5. TCU making the biggest jump in the top 10, within the top 10 this week, moving up to number 6. So, like we said earlier, showing you how much their value and strength of schedule, because both Miami at number 7 and Wisconsin at number 8 are undefeated teams, and they're still behind TCU with 1 loss. Washington jumps back up into the top 10 at number 9, as does Auburn jumps back up into the top 10 at number 10.
Oof, that's the Washington one that kind of baffles me. Like, they haven't really beaten anybody lately, or anybody pretty good in the games they have won, the UCLA's and all that. They've been kind of like they didn't beat them down. So I guess you're just saying, well, they only lost 1 game, so let's just keep putting them up there and cross our fingers.
Well, I'm much more confused by this Auburn back in at number 10 spot here. Last time Auburn was ranked number 10, they had 1 loss and then they lost to LSU. Right. Mm-hmm. Now they got 2 losses and they're heading to play Georgia.
Yeah.
I don't know. Their offense, I'm not.
Offense is bad.
I'm not sold. Yeah. I don't think their offense is
I think they're putting them up there. Can you just imagine if Auburn they beat Georgia and Bama? I'm pretty sure that's probably the next 2 competitors. They're probably going on that with, like, we got them in the top 10. We'll find out. We'll find out if they are top 10 worthy these next 2 weeks, obviously, because you got Georgia. Bama probably in 3 weeks. I don't know how that schedule goes. But we'll know that top 10, either they'll be in it or not. It comes down to facing Georgia and Bama pretty much. So they might be out of the top 10 very quickly as they got it back into it.
Once again.
Yeah. Like I said, Miami at number 7. I respect the committee for saying no strength of schedule. Now, Miami did finally play a game Virginia Tech team. Let's say that they're a game team. They come out to play every time, and that was a great win by Miami. So I respect them for that. It kind of gave me a little bit of. It's funny how just winning. It doesn't matter who you play against, but if you keep winning, how your confidence builds, and it gives you that mystique of being better than what you really are. And I think if Miami goes in there into that same game, 4-3, 5-2, whatever the record is, they lose that game. But them being undefeated, it gives them a little bit of extra motivation. Like, we are this good. Even though you're probably not. I like the fact that they have a chip on their shoulders and they're going out there and beat this Virginia Tech team. We'll find out this week when they play Notre Dame how really good Miami is. This week, you giving them a chance versus the Clemson Tigers in the ACC or no? Miami? No. They're good. I don't think they're beating Clemson good. In my opinion, I think Clemson's going to come out for that big game and probably demolish them. I'm just, I'll see about that. But what's your surprise right now in the top 10?
In the top 10, Auburn.
Auburn.
Auburn and TCU jumped up as far as they did.
They went 8-6, 8-6. Well, look, we'll find out. What I like about this. Quick recap for next week's show. We got some great games next week. And this is going to basically put a big dent, not only in the top 10, but for the playoff talk as well. So we already mentioned we have number 10 Auburn versus number 1 Georgia. That's going to be very, very, very good. I can't wait for that. That's not
our only top 10 matchup of the week, ladies
and
gentlemen.
No, it's not. We also have Notre Dame. We just spoke about that. Notre Dame versus Miami. And this is Miami's show right here. Miami either in it or they're out of it. And, they're either in conversation or 1 loss and they're done, and they know that.
This is the same game for both of those teams, by the way. If Notre Dame loses the second game, they're out. So this is going to be a big statement game.
And I think, in my opinion, probably the biggest of them all, TCU and Oklahoma, 6 versus 5. That's going to be another one. You're in or you're out.
This is where the Big 12 cannibalizes itself.
So, and I think the same as Notre Dame. I think Notre Dame, in Miami, you lose and you're out. One of those two teams, and same as Oklahoma and TCU, you lose and you're out. So these are basically playoff games we're about to watch.
Indeed.
And 3-4 weeks, and the season hasn't even ended yet. 3-4 weeks till the season's over with. So I cannot wait. So we will give a recap on those 3 games for sure next week, and plus much more action as well. But let's get back to this top 10. Oklahoma at 5, TCU at 6. We know they're going to face each other. But they're giving a lot of love to Oklahoma. I just don't like the Big 12. Everybody knows that already. I'm not a Big 12 guy. I don't like them. That being said, I still give these two teams a chance. And I did 3 weeks ago. I said Oklahoma or TCU, no. But
this is why we play the game.
That's why I play the game, exactly. I'm just saying, if Oklahoma can sneak in there, say at 4 or 3 and face a Bama team, and Oklahoma can spread it out big time, and Baker Mayfield is my favorite player in the NCAA right now, they got a shot. You got a shot, And I'll pick them over a Washington team from last year, who I just knew couldn't match up offensively with Bama's defense. Now you got an Oklahoma team, maybe, if they get into that top 4, can play a Bama team pretty good. Possibly.
I'm just gonna go out and say this is gonna be the prelim to your Big 12 championship game. By the way, TCU is gonna stay. Whoever loses this is gonna stay number 2, and whoever wins this is obviously gonna be number 1 in the Big 12. So when that championship game comes around, it's basically this is gonna be the rematch. So the interesting thing to see about this match is gonna be number 1, who wins this one, but number 2, can they repeat? Because if they don't repeat, the Big 12 is dead as a conference.
It is. It is. You're not lying. They added this championship game, but it feels like for the first year of this championship game, it probably won't even matter who wins it. It's like, go play. Y'all can play in the Cotton Bowl, something like that. Here's my question I want to ask. There's a potential to have, you could see more than more than one 2-loss team in this playoff. It's looking like that now. Because I'm seeing a lot of teams that have the ability to lose 2 games and are going to be in it. Let's say a Notre Dame team with 2 losses, or God forbid a Clemson team with 2 losses. They had a good victory against. We need to talk about that against North Carolina State.
They came out and handled business.
Yeah, they won 38-31, but they had it in control pretty much the whole game. In my opinion, there were some times where you thought North Carolina State.
It got close. North Carolina State is. They're a hell of a team this year.
Well, they're helping out. They helped out Notre Dame and helped out Clemson's cause.
Yeah.
For the last 2 weeks, so a couple weeks. So North Carolina State isn't a joke of a team.
I just think there's too much of a stranglehold on these top 4 spots. The teams in these top 4 spots, man. Bama's not going to give up more than 2 games.
Right.
Georgia, at this point, probably not going to give up. Those 2 teams are more than likely headed into the conference championship game undefeated. So you're looking at an instance where both of those teams are going to be either no loss or 1 loss. That's 2 spots right there. Right. Notre Dame with 1 loss already. I think they can go ahead and maintain that and holding on to that 1 loss, like you said, with so many teams now starting to pile up to 2-loss teams. I think that just in and of itself is going to qualify them. And then, so the 4th spot is where it's going to get kind of tricky.
Yeah. I got a feeling that's going to be a 2-loss team in that 4th spot. I got a feeling. Yeah. I'll tell you this, a 2-loss Notre Dame team, a 2-loss Clemson team, or a 1-loss TCU or Oklahoma. Who gets in?
It's going to be 1-loss TCU or Oklahoma because they're going to be a 1-loss conference champion. At that point, Notre Dame's going to be a 2-loss with no conference, so they don't have a championship game to even put on the table, and Clemson's going to be a 2-loss conference champion.
I'm with you because if a Big 12 team does go with the 1 loss, that means it's either TCU or Oklahoma. That means they beat that opponent not once but
twice.
Twice, yeah. In this game and in the Big 12 championship. So yeah, I'm with the 1-loss Big 12 team over a 2-loss Notre Dame or Clemson team, but. My goodness, man. This week has been crazy. Next week is going to be even crazier. We're talking about that. So before we wrap up, anything else you want to talk about in the top 10?
No, I think we covered.
We
everything
covered everything pretty much, man. Hey, we didn't even talk about our next week. Team Brown versus Team Carlos. It's going to be Notre Dame versus Miami. And with that being said, I'm going to make it quick. I'm going with Miami. I don't know why, but I am. They got my respect from Virginia Tech, beating them down kind of convincingly. So I'm riding with Miami, maybe because I just want to see them just shatter the whole entire playoff status and get beaten in the first round badly by somebody. But you got Notre Dame. Why you got them?
I like what Notre Dame is riding on. I think they're playing hungry. And then that same aspect, I want to see them in because Notre Dame in leaves 2 conferences out.
Right.
And I want to see some movement up in the higher ranks to get some more teams in this playoff because the way this season has been shaken out, man.
We need 8. We need 8 now.
Yeah. I mean, you could have this matchup in a playoff. This could be a playoff game, Notre Dame versus Miami, and that would be a really good playoff game.
That would be
awesome. I want to see movement. I want to get more teams in the playoffs.
I'm with you on that. 2 things about Notre Dame. Running game, defense, and that always carries with you game to game. So that's what I love about Notre Dame. Running game, the defense is excellent. So let's go hit the top 4, man. If you playoff started, in your opinion, what's your top 4 right now?
All right, well, 1 and 2, both teams played conference opponents, both teams in the SEC.
Mm-hmm.
Both teams had very pedestrian showings. The scores were exactly the same, in fact. Both games were 24-10.
Yeah, I thought about that, yeah.
But Georgia, on the virtue of having the number 1 ranking from the CFP last go-around and looking, we weren't looking for... With both teams, you're looking for something to say, okay, let me hold on. But... I think Alabama's was a little bit worse. I think problems on the offensive line are always really bad.
Right.
So I'm going to go ahead and slide Georgia up to number 1, and then Bama's only going to fall to number 2 because, let's be honest, they could beat just about anybody in the country if they really wanted to.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to slip Clemson up in at number 3. I still think they're the best one-loss team available right now.
Right.
And I'm going to go ahead and make that swap. I'm going to put Notre Dame in at number 4 over Oklahoma. They're going to be my... on the bubble team this week, even though they did put up 62 against Oklahoma State. It's a Big 12 competition. Nobody plays defense in the Big 12. You want to impress me, throw for 400 yards against Alabama.
Right, there you go. It's funny how it's weird because somehow Oklahoma State puts up 13 against Texas, and then they put up 55 against Oklahoma.
Yeah.
It's like, what is going on in this Big 12? It's weird.
Yeah.
All right, so basically you got Georgia 1, Bama 2, Clemson 3, Notre Dame 4, and he has Oklahoma on the outskirts of number 5 in the bubble. I'm basically kind of the same except for my top 2 pretty much. I still have Bama as number 1. I think, look, you can't beat them right now. I got to wait till they lose. And yes, they sort of had a poor performance against LSU in my opinion, but they didn't lose. So until they actually lose a game, they're my number 1 team. Georgia number 2. That's kind of 1A, 1B. I got Clemson at 3, and I still think, even though Clemson at 3, I still think Clemson is the best team in the nation. Just that they had that 1 loss, so that's the only problem. Before that 1 loss, they were the number 1 team by the committees, whatever. Notre Dame, they're in my top 4 now, but with Ohio State getting demolished, they're all the way down to 14 now, so we're not even worried about those guys anymore. 13, one of those. So I got Notre Dame, at 4, and I got Oklahoma on the outskirts on the bubble as well. Because you just got to, right?
Yeah.
they're the only really, really good team you can think about putting in the bubble because you're not gonna put TCU there, you're not gonna put Wisconsin or Miami there. So no, Oklahoma's there. So my top 4: Notre Dame, Clemson, Bama, and Notre Dame, Clemson, Georgia, then Bama. That's number 1. So the playoffs started for B-Dub. You got Georgia versus Notre Dame, the rematch. And then you got Bama versus Clemson, the rematch.
Yeah.
The 3-time rematch,
yeah.
Right? And in my scenario, I got Notre Dame versus Bama. Rematch from a long, 5 years ago, that horrible BCS bowl game. And then Clemson and Georgia, which I would love to see Clemson versus Georgia.
I would love to watch any
of these games, to be honest. No, you're right. I cannot wait. We got more action next week. We're going to talk about all these top 10 games going on. Georgia, Auburn, Notre Dame, Miami, and then Oklahoma and TCU is going to be a barn bash, and we're excited for that for week 10. This has been week 9 of our college casual football talk. For Brian Wilkerson, I'm your host, Carlos Clayton. Uneducated never presents Uneducated Sports Talk. Guys know what time it is. Stay smart, stay uneducated. Peace.